Hello everyone, this is Venus Brown. Today I'm going to be reacting to The Crown, Season 4, Episode 5, called Fagin. I do have a little bit of a red spot on my nose. Because of my sunburn, it's kind of really dry and red and irritated. My understanding is this episode is going to really touch on some of the drawbacks of the policies that Margaret Thatcher was trying to instate. And we're going to get to see one person who manages to actually break into the Queen's quarters. Very scary. I think she handles it well, though. She allows the guy to speak his piece, which is important. Like I said in the last episode, when stuff like this is happening, the first thing you should be doing is trying to find out why people feel the way they do. For his case, him breaking in is wrong. It's treasonous. It's horrible. He can get himself into a lot of trouble, and he really shouldn't do it. But he has reasons for why he did what he did. And I think things went fairly well because she heard him out and listened to what he had to say.
A royal ruckus has started over the man who had an audience with Queen Elizabeth, uninvited and unannounced, in the Queen's bedroom in the middle of the night.
The man had cut himself on a broken window and left bloodstains on the Queen's bed.
Yesterday's intruder was able to get through an elaborate system of electronic alarms, as well as past palace guards and police.
The man was identified as 30-year-old Michael Fagin.
Sat talking 6 feet away from the Queen. Then he asked her for a cigarette.
According to his mother, he spoke of a girlfriend.
Unperturbed, despite the unprecedented and severe.
I wonder if this is what I remember from when I was younger, but I could swear that there were two situations. Sometimes events are big enough and important enough that they just like kind of stick in your head even if you're pretty young. But I could swear there was somebody else that did it again later. So I'll have to look into that and see. And here is the intro for The Crown, Season 4. If you like this content, you can go ahead and click that thumbs up button. If you like, you can click the bell to subscribe. And if you click all, you'll get notifications whenever new content is loaded. You can share or even save it to watch later if you like. And there it is. The Crown. Ta-da! And so this is my background. Good song.
Any work in the past 2 weeks?
Every fortnight I come in here, and every fortnight you ask me the same question.
Unemployment sucks, and having to deal with unemployment doesn't mean you're trying to sponge off the system. It's just a matter of you don't have work available, you haven't been able to get yourself into a job, and there's so many excuses that employers use not to hire you.
Come here.
I need to talk to you about the flat.
Well, not tonight, Michael.
You're not worth it. Well, maybe you haven't got any balls.
Guys, don't do this shit. Yes, when somebody's treating us like shit, and they obviously aren't going to take us seriously, and they're not listening to us, and they're doing whatever the fuck they want, even though we don't want that kind of attention, yeah, somebody should probably step in, say something, do something. But being a jealous asshole and fighting with whoever your ex was with, that stuff just looks stupid. Whoever brought these guys up to make them feel that this was appropriate behavior, I don't know exactly what the hell they were thinking. But I don't know any females that really get off on that, that really like that. Have some self-discipline. Please.
Why would I do that?
Everyone was against us going to the Falklands, but she believed we could pull it off, and now victory is within sight. Her victory.
Subject of palace security again, which infuriated me.
Why?
Do you want our walls to be built even higher? Or the public to stand 10 feet further back at engagements? Accessible. To lower the drawbridge. It doesn't feel right to be pulling it up again.
Yeah, but you still have to keep yourself secure.
Do you do normally? I'm a painter decorator, but there's not a lot of work around recently. Perhaps because instead of investing in new homes which I could then paint and decorate, Devil Woman here is spending it all on a completely unnecessary war.
Well, I have to tell you that I fully support the war.
Do you know what it costs?
Well, it's not up to
I
you.
know precisely.
You're supposed to be a
The government has
representative.
published the figures.
Why?
Your
Would
people
you
are
spend
there
over
telling
£3
you
billion on a war
what they think
against
and how
total
they feel.
strangers rather than looking after your
And
own
you're
family?
telling them, well,
Because
I
the invasion
don't
of
agree
the
with you.
Falkland Islands of her as my boss.
You fancy her?
What? I'm afraid that's all we have time for.
I haven't finished. Someone about her. Who do I speak to?
The leader of the opposition. He has the opportunity to put questions to her in the House of Commons twice a week. Failing that, the Queen should drop in at Buckingham Palace to ask her.
Now, if the opposition is in the minority on both sides, then it doesn't really do a lot of good to talk to them because they have no footing. Not here. I would imagine it's the same way there. If it's fairly equal, then they have a little bit of footing and they can kind of get the other side to listen sometimes. But if it's not, those people that are down here aren't going to get these assholes up here to frickin' listen. And it doesn't matter which party it is that's in that position. That's just how they tend to be.
Said it needs improving. There's water damage. Want to fix it.
You're not the primary tenant.
My wife's the primary tenant, but she's left. I just explained.
Council.
No, they told me speak to you.
See,
Look,
this runaround is very frustrating for people when they're in situations like this. You can't talk to me, you gotta talk to them. You can't talk to them, you gotta talk to them. Nobody's really listening and nobody's getting anything across. Nothing's getting done. One thing after another. So what is he doing? He's like, I can't get these assholes to listen to me and do what they're supposed to. I'm gonna go right to the top. And it's not right. It's illegal. He shouldn't do it. It's very, very wrong. But he's irritated and aggravated and desperate. And has just been getting that typical runaround and red tape from the government that is supposed to take care of this stuff. And they don't always do a good job of it. Like, how's their security system set up? Because he is walking around the grounds and everything. I'm assuming they have video cameras at this point. Not necessarily great ones, but still. I know when we had an alarm set up on our house, it was, each of the main windows and the doors. With that many windows, maybe they didn't put one on all of the windows. Another thing we had is like a sensor for if there's like movement inside the house in areas where there's not supposed to be movement, it might go off. But I also remember not using that often. It just felt like too much of a pain in the butt, and there was too much likeliness that somebody was going to be moving in that part of the house and set the alarm off that actually supposed to be there. He's like, here, let me just make myself at home. Have a little wine. Yeah, maybe don't go in someone else's place and start drinking.
Quickly, there's a man. An intruder.
What?
He's by the Queen's bedroom.
Come on. No sun.
So he did this twice? Dude. But he also knows now that he can do it.
Heats were malfunctioning, and that the window on the second floor had been left unsecured. He hears about this. I do think we will have to brace ourselves for a thorough security review.
Absolutely need to know.
Not necessarily. If we can overlook...
The palace is too like a prison as it is.
But you can't go doing nothing. On a freaking playground. Don't do this. Like, why? Why do guys ever think that this is okay? And then he wonders why his wife won't even talk to him. Like, what the hell?
In the permanent care of their mother.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You're not going to get freaking custody of kids when you're showing that you're an asshole who beats on people because you're jealous of them.
Queen has returned to Buckingham Palace ahead of her regular audience with the Prime Minister.
And there's his cue. See, and if they had said something at least to the security people, like, this needs to be watched more closely, need to be keeping a closer eye on it, probably would have been somebody paying attention. Maybe have a second person on duty with the other one. I understand she doesn't want it like a prison, but there are little things you can do to step up security without going crazy. Oh my God. Is Bobo one of the housekeepers or something?
Who are you policeman outside this door?
No, there isn't. You don't know or you don't care.
Of course I care. Indeed. What a thing to say.
Don't do that, please.
Don't you dare touch me! Let go!
Stop it! Say what I've got to say and then I'll go. Best behaviour. Bowing and scraping, that's not normal.
And this is normal.
It could be. Even posher than you'd think, and yet more run down.
Run down?
Oh yeah. Corridors and staterooms. Shocking.
Who?
Painter decorator. You should hire me. You might need a glazer too. See anything?
You stole a bottle of wine last time.
Mm-hmm.
Only to work up
And
the
you
courage
broke
to speak
things.
to you.
What is it you'd like me to do?
Save us all from her.
Who?
Thatcher. You're unemployed. That's more than at any time since the Great Depression. Doesn't that bother you?
Yes, it bothers me greatly. People do. Because they simply have to.
That's what I thought. That I'd bounce back. And then I didn't. First the work dried up, then my confidence dried up. Then the love in my wife's eyes dried up.
Can help with all of this.
What state? The state has gone. She's dismantled it, along with all the other things we thought we could depend on growing up. A sense of community, a sense of, obligation to one another. And your job too, let me tell you, you'll be out of work soon.
Let me assure you, Mrs. Thatcher isn't all too committed. But you might ask the policeman to come in.
You're taking the tea away.
Why? Just beyond King's Cross.
Lovely.
I know where King's Cross is.
Is it lovely?
I've been there once.
No, not particularly. Don't touch her.
It's all right. I shall bear in mind what you've said. Now, perhaps that cup of tea. Yes, Mum.
Seriously. Is she going to consider stepping up the security now? Because even though nothing happened really terrible, that's still frightening. Nerve's got to be shot.
To blame for his troubles.
Mm-hmm.
Being a victim of unemployment, which is now more than twice what it was when you came into office just 3 years ago. Kill the very patient it is intended to heal.
Right
if
there.
people like Mr. Fagin are struggling,
Abandon outdated and misguided notions of collective duty. There are individual men and women.
People do better when their communities work together.
It was the risk of
Sure, he did it all on his own and he had no benefits from anyone else at all.
Doctors have reached the conclusion he is suffering from a schizophrenic illness. If a nice,
That was not schizophrenia.
will ensure a
He does not belong in a mental hospital.
where to?
He needs his shit straightened out, but he does not belong in a mental hospital. Okay, so this stuff that's going on there, it reminds me of some of the things that happened when Reagan was president. Reagan was very popular because Reagan did things for the country that made the country feel good about itself as a country. But some of Reagan's policies also did harm to certain people, just like the policies were doing harm to the guy that broke into the castle. And growing up in that, like, my interest in politics and society and all of that stuff didn't come until much later. I was terrible in history and remember the names and dates and all the other stuff that the history teachers wanted us to memorize, and it seemed like that was the bulk of history, is memorizing a bunch of names and dates and unimportant information without really like getting to the root of the problems and the discussions of the people's stories that were living in these environments and that kind of stuff. I do know that when I was growing up, Reagan was really popular. Thatcher, from what I remember, was very popular. It's nationalism, bulking up the popularity and pride in your country because you've won some war or some battle, because you've cracked down on crime or whittled down drug problems or something to that effect, or made it at least look like drugs and crime and things like that were down. It wasn't until later on that I started hearing from other people I knew in my own family and friends and things like that, that some of his policies were causing them real harm, harmed their job, harmed their livelihood, harmed how they were able to live in their life, harmed their ability to get help when they needed it most. Just like he was saying, set these things up to have this fucking national pride or whatever at a time where unemployment is skyrocketing, inflation is going haywire, people aren't able to make money because the jobs aren't there, and the money they do have doesn't go as far because of inflation. And the relationships that you're in, they falter. Finances are like one of the biggest issues that get in the way of people's relationships. You fuck up a person's finances, you can easily fuck up their relationships, especially if they're not used to going through that kind of thing. Then you put them in a situation where, oh, you're also trying to crack down on the spending in social programs. So what happens? The social programs that would usually help you out when there's not jobs, when there's not money, when you need help the most, are not there to help you. They're too hard for you to access. You end up another one of those people that fall through the cracks because the cracks have gotten bigger. It's harder for you to be caught by that safety net. And from what I've seen of the breakdown of budgets and everything for government industries and stuff like that, the amount on social spending is not nearly as much as the amount on the military-industrial complex. I don't know about in Great Britain, but in America, we spend tremendous amounts of money on military, on wars, on the government, on law enforcement, on all of these things like that, that providing this impression of great power. And our politicians love to attack social programs first. Yet as far as I can tell, social programs don't cost nearly as much as that other stuff that they use to make them look like great and powerful government. By cutting the spending you're putting into the programs, by cutting the focus you're putting onto those programs, you're harming real people when they need it the most. Anyway, I will try to do one more video and get that done and trimmed up. I'm hoping that will get me to where I can release an episode every week while I'm gone. But hopefully I'll get the next one done. I'll see you next week. And then after that, I'll be off vacation and I will be able to get back to my regular schedule.
Till next time, I'll see you when I see you. If you like this video, please click the like button. If you want more content, click subscribe. If you click that little bell and click all, then you'll get more content notifications.